Okay, this is going to be an intermittent recording because I am also packing, but I thought, given that I'm here for another 30 minutes or something, I could check in on this game. This is for Kefka semifinals. Turdz leads 1-0. There is no same. Seto has started with a relatively weak corner. He has limited recaptures from 2. Can that be exploited? Turdz has three ways to capture from 6. He can have a 3 or 6 facing out. Does he cover a 5 in either of those cases? Yeah, he does. So I might be considering 6-3, 5-6, and 6. When Seto wants to play 5-7, 5-1, and 2, Turdz can combo in 4. Note that's a plus, not a same. Right, there's been a timeout in another game I thought we might check in on. So I think 6 looks somewhat appealing. He goes 6 with a different card. Okay. Now, here he doesn't control a 5, but that 7 facing down is potentially safe, right? With no plus while on, moves like this gain in efficacy. And it might get some serious right power out of Seto's hand. So 5-7, 5-1, and 2. What's the idea? Could it be something like 6-3, 5-6 in... Maybe that's not quite it. I was thinking 6-3, 5-6, and 5, when if Seto wants to recapture his card in 1, he has to play 7-5-5-2 or 7-3-5-3, both of which are comboed by 7-6-3-3. But he could still play 5-5-4-6 in 1, and Turdz is somewhat lacking in ups there, though it might still be very good for him. Let's calculate out a line. 5-7, 5-1, and 2, 6-3, 5-6, and 5. Turdz leads 6-4. 5-5-4-6 and 1, 5-5. 7-6-3-3 and 4. Turdz leads 6-4. Now, if Seto plays either of his remaining cards in 7, making it 5-5, Turdz has Imp for 8, and he wins. Where else could Seto go? Seto could start in 8, but either card he plays in 8, he is dead in 9, and Turdz plays in 7. So I think if Seto goes 2 and Turdz goes 5, Seto can't go in 1. Can he go in 9? Well, it seems unlikely. Imp in 8 looks really annoying to me, among other things. Does he have a setup in 7? That's going to be the saving grace here, if there is one. Either card with a 7 up makes a threat in 4. I don't think he can create a threat in 8, but forcing Turdz to block 4 might be enough, but I don't think so, because I think Turdz blocks 4 with a 7 facing up. I think Seto can't do this. Yeah, he's put the card back down. I think he had picked up 5-7, 5-1. I don't think he can do 5-7, 5-1, and 2. I think after 5, that's a disaster. You go 7, Turdz blocks 7 with 7-6-3-3, and 3-7-3-6 lands in 8, and you lose. So you can't play 5-7, 5-1, and 2. Do you have setups? Now, I'm going to go start putting stuff together, so I'm going to turn off the sound on the recording, and I will be back shortly. Sorry for this being an odd video. I just thought it would be nice to catch some of this match. I think this is a difficult position for Seto. I think in general... Oh, there are walls. Why did I think there were no walls? Whenever a rule is taken off these days, my brain just decides a different rule is taken off. It's not... I'm not a tournament player at the moment. Like, I think I still have, like, pretty good instincts for the game, but I don't have the brain to keep things distinct. Anyhow, so I will leave you able to watch how this continues, and I will be back every few minutes or something. But okay, as I try to get up, we have seen 5-7, 5-1, and 2. I don't see the intended reply to 6-3, 5-6 in 5. I think 6-3, 5-6, and 5 might just be a win for Turdz. It's entirely possible I'm wrong. I'm been known to be wrong in the past, and I think Seto is a better calculator than me. But this looks very scary. I might have considered 5, 5, 4, 6, and 9 instead. Just as a possible option. When we check with the solver after, that's something I'll be curious to check, just as a potential idea. But okay, back to muting, I pack. Alright, has anything happened? Turdz has not moved yet. He's thinking. I'm tempted. I'm going to start bringing up the solver already because A, I am lazy, and B, I'm not entirely here. But I have found my clothes, so that's something. So we're going to need no same or same wall, right? So no S rules. And we're going to need our first turn hand is 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 7, 5, 1, 7, 5, 5, 2, 7, 3, 5, 3, 5, 5, 4, 6. Our second turn hand is 6, 2, 7, 3, 7, 6, 3, 3, 2, 7, 6, 3, 3, 7, 3, 6, 6, 3, 5, 6. My instinct is that 6, 3, 5, 6, and 5 is very strong here, and that it's probably for the best that Turdz is taking his time. But if I was playing, it would be a bad sign I was taking my time. All right. 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, however many fives. Appears to tie, but it's going to take a while to see that, so let's keep moving. 6, 2, 7, 3, and 6. We will get the eval of shortly. He does play 6, 3, 5, 6, and 5. And after this move, Seto had 2 ties. Is 5, 7, 5, 1, and 2 one of them? Yes, it is. 6, 3, 5, 6, and 5 does not win. Turdz was taking his time. There are 4 different ties here. Wow, what a terrible evaluation job I did. Did I screw up some rules? I might have missed some plus walls because I keep forgetting plus wall is on. Alright, there are multiple ties in 8. I had kind of ruled out 8 because I assumed something like, oh, but you can't play 7, 6, 3, 3, and 7. But there are also multiple cards that tie in 7. Either card with a 7 up allegedly ties in 7. Why is that true? I assumed 7 was met by 7, 6, 3, 3, and 7, but I guess then you go 8. Then you go 8. Ah. Alright. Nicely played, held by Seto then. Was my idea, I might have said 9. My idea on 7 was losing. Seto's move holds. What's the other hold? It said there were 2 holds. That card in 2, and 7, 3, 5, 3, and 9. I was thinking maybe put another card in 9 because the 7, 3, 5, 3, and 7, 5, 5, 2 are so bad. but I didn't quite get to 5-5. I hadn't solved that 5-5-4-6 loses, and therefore I hadn't yet reached 7-3-5-3 as a possible alternative in 9. This does look very dangerous to me. So there are 4 ties here. 8, I think, is harder to find than 7, but Seto has picked up one of the cards. Another bad evaluation on my part, so congrats to me. Yeah, I'd assumed 7 was losing, but you do just go 8 after. Yeah, because I was thinking Turdz lands 8 and you're dead, but Turdz doesn't land 8, so you're not dead. Yeah. So I was saying on time usage, for me, this would be a game where I'd have probably settled on 6-3-5-6 pretty quickly, and I would prefer to take a move than confuse myself by thinking a lot. Well, for Turdz, I think using more time is probably correct. I think he's better at using that extra time without having panicked himself. But I really like to move with 1 or 2 minutes left on the clock. I get worried if I'm under 50 seconds or so. All right. Looks like a nicely held game in a difficult spot by Seto, but we'll see if he actually converts the hold. I am sure he will. Gonna turn off the solver and mute for a bit as I try to find stuff. Seto actually taking his time is a pretty strong indicator this is quite scary. Um, and that in practice, seeing this as a tie is very non trivial. He's picked up 7-3-5-3, and I can't imagine that could go anywhere other than 7 or 8. So he does go 8. So I think he has held, but a difficult game to be sure. Yeah. One thing I missed here was I thought. I don't know what I thought. What did I think? I'm not sure. Nice hold. Well done. I should put this in my database. Forgot about that. I'm very out of it. I think a nicely played game. I have not caught any of their games so far this match, so this is. Seto's only had second turns. Turdz has only had first turns. I think second turn might be pretty good on this set. I might be wrong. We clearly saw it get a strong advantage here. So Seto will be holding, and I will go back to muted for a bit. Again, apologies for this format of video. It is not what I would desire, but, it's what we have. else is going on? It seems that Avalanche has just tragically lost the third match in our CBC. So we are down 2-1 now, I think, but with Delhi still to play. So, we got our ace. I could check the game that is being talked about because there was a timeout, so now they're figuring it out. But if they want me to check, they'll put the right move order, and I'll do that later. So we're here. So the points are 1, if Turdz goes 9, Seto can take back in 7, and his 7-5-5-2 sweeps the endgame. Or his 7-5-5-2 is safe in 7, and I guess that probably holds as well, because it gets comboed by 2-7-6-3 and 4, but you combo back with 5-5-4-6 and 1. If Turdz goes, and Turdz would like to go 7-6-3-3 and 7, because there's not a serious threat in 9, but there's a combo in 4. Yeah. So it looks like Seto just sneaks out of this one. A difficult sneak, right? It seems like from the opening hands, this was going to be difficult. All those 7-6s and 7-6 corners, very difficult to meet. So having to sneak out of something in a random game certainly doesn't mean you did anything wrong. But I like how Turdz attacked it. Actually, this does make me wonder. Too late now. Solver's closed. It does make me wonder if there was any way to apply more pressure. Like if you took immediately with 6-3-5-6 and 6, was that more pressure because it denies the take back in 2? But it may have walked into some combo stuff, or there's all kinds of stuff that could have happened there that this avoided. So I suspect no better, maybe significantly worse. For instance, there might have been setups in 8 that were a problem. Well, there really didn't seem to be here. Right out the end of the game. 7-3-5-3-8, 2-7-6-3-4, 3-7-3-6-1, 5-5-4-6-9. No, that's not the order. 2-7-6-3-4, 5-5-4-6-9, 3-7-3-6-1, 7-5-5-2-7, 7-6-3-3 left. 5-5. Yeah. Difficult game all around, I think. Like, if you're Turdz, it's really easy to feel like you let a win slip somewhere. And if you're Seto, you just found a really nice save and held well. Now, you might say, is this a really nice save? He just played 2, the normal move, recapturing 3. Yeah, but it was scary as hell, and nothing else worked. You had to convince yourself that the normal move did work, or almost nothing else worked, and get yourself to play it. And so many players, when the normal move looks like it doesn't work, move off it. Right? I was moving off it as an example. And I'm someone very biased towards just do play the normal move. Now the secondary normal move is 9, so I was stuck between 2 and 9, and it does turn out the only ties were in 2 and 9. But the move in 2, it was obvious which card fits in 2. The move in 9, it was not at all obvious which card fits in 9. It was more useful to get a bad card out of your hand there than to kind of do anything there. And that's not trivial at all. You might get there by talking to your cards, though. Okay, I'm going to pause this. If the video now ends, that means I didn't catch any more. If the video doesn't end, that means we're going to come back with a game 5 of their match. Turdz leads 1-0, so Seto must win twice, but Seto is incredible at this game, so has a very good chance to do that, while Turdz only needs one more win to clinch. I think he was very, very close to it here. Like, you change one number on something, just very slightly, and this is over. You know how some people in sports are like, they weren't quite able to get there, but there wasn't a way to get there, right? This is not a game where, if you just, and some people talk as if it is, but this is not a game where if you just like have enough will or brilliance, there is always a way to get there. There just isn't. This was a big development in chess, just to make a silly analogy. Oh, we didn't even need to pause. Which is, there was kind of, I don't know how true this was. A lot of the writing about historical figures seems to ignore everything the historical figures actually said. So I'm a little skeptical of this. Side to side issues for Turdz, and really strong side to side for Seto. So if Seto started in a square like 9, I would strongly consider, if I already had ways to approach it, going in a square like 2. And just saying, I need the game to be up down. Like, how do you meet, say, 6, 1, 4, 7, and 9? It's pretty annoying. Maybe you can play something like 6, 4, 3, 6, and 5 or something instead of 5, 1, 7, 5. And if you don't set them up in 6, they don't have a recapture in 6. So that probably is comfortably sufficient, but it's tricky. Anyway, my analogy is going to be not to maybe actual chess history, but to imagined chess history, the way people tell it that isn't really true, but maybe is a little true. I'm not sure. Which is this idea that it used to be thought that, if you find enough brilliance in a position, you will find a way to summon some combination out of the ether. And at some point we realized, no, that's clearly not the case. It clearly depends on positional demands. Now, everyone who says this says other stuff about the past I know clearly not to be true, so it probably isn't a good analogy. But I think it is something we see in Triple Triad of kind of like, if you had enough brilliance here, you'd pull something out. Like you'd have turned this close to a win into a full win. It's just not the case. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. The real question is, can you find the moves that make it trickiest for the opponent, right? And that is a very different question, because sometimes you will have made it very tricky and they will find it, and sometimes you won't have made it very tricky and they won't find it, right? It's hard, and it's hard to judge on that front. And that's something the solver can both tell you, no, there was no brilliance, but it also is not very good at telling you this was the best try. Okay, so we see a really interesting thing from Seto. He's first playing off synergy. 6, 1, 4, 7 has this plus wall in 3 and 9. But also, when you occupy a side square, you direct the game. Now, this obviously directs the game to the right, but it makes it very hard to have an up-down battle. This is a very interesting move to me. Makes it really tough to force the game into up-down waters, and Turdz needs the game to be up-down. I would be very unsurprised if Seto wins this one. Seto also, it's an aggressive side, right? Seto has control of 3 and 9. Turdz cannot play there happily. One kind of standard thing to consider might be 6, 2, 7, 2, and 2. Just saying, if you go 3, I go 1, and I sort of build a downward wall with 7s. That doesn't seem so bad. Seto can go somewhere like 9 or 5, but Turdz has ways to attack the card in 6. So one thing to note is Seto's had a number of weird games with adjacent side starters. I don't know what to make of his play in them. He had 2 games against Smokes, one of which he played an adjacent side. He met, I think, a starter in 6 with a move in 8, and was lost, though Smokes didn't convert. And another game, Smokes met him with an adjacent side, and he played an adjacent side to that. It kind of went like 6, 8, 4, or 6, 2, 4, I think was the actual move order. And he was in serious trouble there, and Smokes also screwed that one up and ended up losing. But I don't have a good sense of what his instincts are against moves like that. So it is entirely possible if Turdz plays 2, Seto is just like ready to hit him in 4, and it's entirely possible that's a good move. I don't see how you do it here, but The standard thing to calculate when looking at moves in 2 is what to do if they take the square in 3. And if they go 3 and you go 1, like, maybe you're conceivably in trouble there. But you have 2 cards they can't attack, they have 1 card you can attack. From a kind of heuristic perspective, unless they can completely control 5, you should be in good shape. And something suggesting they can't completely control 5 is, let's say 5-4-6-4 is still in your hand, which it probably will be. It's probably not the card you used in 1. If that lands in 5 and you have a 7 down from 1, they have no combos in 4. Note that if you played a 6 out, like 6-4-3-6, they'd have the plus wall with 5-7-5-3. I remembered plus wall is on this time. And to combo an 8, I don't think they have configurations that do that. Whatever card they have put in 9. So I think it's hard for them to control 5. Maybe they have a setup in 7. I'm lazy about checking that. You can check that closer to the time. But my guess is that 6-2-7-2 and 2 is sufficient to kind of, as I said, like, I was saying it against a starter in like 9 or 7, but against a starter here too, just doing something. A starter in 6 so strongly says, this game is side to side. And Turdz' hand so strongly says, I cannot play a side to side game. And a move in 2 or 8 says, this game is up and down just as strongly as the move in 6 says side to side. And you really need to say something like that really strongly here, because the hand is tough to play. Other things you might think of. 5-4-6-4 in 1. You have recaptures in both squares. The opponent can't capture in 4, so maybe you can build off that. Also, if you do recapture in 4 with 6-2-7-2, happily you have a recapture in 7 if needed, because that is a card there's a very good chance you'll need to recapture, and if you don't have it, that could be a problem. So 5-4-6-4 in 1 looks possible as well. I don't think it addresses kind of the fundamental nature of the position in the same way as 2 does, but it also seems very, very reasonable to me. And you don't have to address the true nature of the position every move, as it were. All right, I'm going to pop open the solver again because I think I'm going to stop recording in a moment, and so I'd like to have a sense of where we are. Do my ideas hold? We'll see what Turdz plays, we'll see what the situation is, and then we will end the recording. 7-3-5-3, so Turdz has presumably played. Oh no, I do not believe in this move at all, right? This move says, yes, the game is going to be side to side. Why do we want the game to be side to side? Like, if Seto just sticks something in 5, do we lose on the spot? I think so. I don't believe in this at all. If this holds, I will doff my cap to Turdz, but also say, clearly my understandings are bad. I think I'm very surprised if this isn't losing. Maybe there's bigger margins than I think. You know, this is going to be very embarrassing for me when I put this in and it's not losing. So far, not losing. All right, so this is very embarrassing for me. This is not losing. However, was 6-2-7-2 and 2 better? Now this move's going to lose. Oh, this is going to be so bad for me. All right, 6-2-7-2 and 2 was probably a better move. What about 5-4-6-4 and 1? About the same, according to its quick analysis. But like, after 6-2-7-2, let's make sure I have the rules right. Plus wall. Okay, I do. Can't use that as an excuse. All right, 5-7-5-3 and 5 loses somehow. Is nothing high pressure? Whoa, man. All right, well, Turdz is better than me. What can I say? I don't know what I'm talking about. This just seems like, why do we want a side-to-side game? But it looks like he has multiple ties, like, a lot against almost every move. Seems like the toughest move to hold against might be 6-1-4-7 and 3. That looks really tough to hold against. Anything in 9 except for 5-1-5-7 loses. Like 6-4, 3-6, and 9 loses to 5-3, 6-6, and 7. What is this? Yeah, don't play moves like this. The positions are nonsensical. Play moves we can comprehend better. Alright, so this might be a really cool finish, in which case, egg on my face. I was just sure this must be losing because the hand seemed really difficult to me, and as I've talked about, I think quite a bit recently, like, I tend to have pessimistic evaluations, so perhaps I shouldn't be so confident, but oh my god, why are we doing this? I want to explore, is the 6-2, 7-2, and 2 line, did that tie comfortably? Because if that tied comfortably, it's a better move. Like, if they go in 3 and we go in 1, are we just fine? Not necessarily. Okay, so my move had more problems than I thought. Again, really hard to see at distance. So we'll get back to this in a sec. Sorry, I'm just clicking moves. But if 5-7, 5-3, and 3, after my move in 2, so if you went 6-2, 7-2, and 2, they go 5-7, 5-3, and 3, then 5-4, 6-4, and 1 does tie. But 4-4, 7-4, and 1 somehow loses to 6-1, 4-7, and 7, creating a threat in 4. You can block the threat in 4 with 5-4, 6-4, and you somehow die to 5-3, 6-6, and 5. Okay, cool. I'd click you through, but we're lazy. Now, you're still okay after 5-7, 5-3, and 3, but it is more dangerous than I thought. I thought it might be something where it just ties comfortably with a clear follow-up against all moves in 3, but no, it requires more specificity. Not a trivial tie. He goes 5-3, 6-6, and 3, which I did not check on the solver, but I had started... It did seem like 3 was the most dangerous square from not actually looking at the position, but clicking things on the solver. Is this better? This is about the same. Turdz has ties in 1 and 5 and nowhere else. Seems very dangerous. The only tie in 5 is with 5-4, 6-4, it looks like. No, is with 4-4, 7-4. Okay, so must play 4-4, 7-4, and 5, or something in 1. Why is 1 appealing? Because now we're actually looking at the position. I was just saying whatever the solver said. If you go 1 and they go 2, I guess any move they go in 2, you go 5, I guess? So like if 4-4, 7-4, and 1, if they stick something in 2, say 1-4, 7-5, then you have to stick something in 5. But you have some choices there. And I guess that makes sense that it'll hold. It would hold. Yeah, okay. Dangerous position for Turdz, clearly. Everything I say is wrong, so probably a good time for me to stop talking, and the rest of the recording, I guess we'll just have me silent. Great. But I'm going to leave it on for the rest of the game, but I don't think, or till we leave in like 10 minutes, but I don't think I'll talk. Okay, coming back for just a sec to say, I think 6-4, 3-6, and 2 loses to 5-7, 3, 5-3, and 5. So I think the only tie is 5-1, 7-5, and 2, which Turdz has picked up, but we haven't seen where he's put it yet. But I think that's the only tie. I've turned the solver off, so I'm. But I think if you go 5-1, 7-5, and 2, if they play 5-7, 5-3, and 5, you have 6-4, 3-6. Sorry, if they play a 1-7-4-5 and 5, you have 6-4-3-6 and 7, and 5-7-5-3 can't flip you. And if they go 5-7-3-5 and 5, then 6-4-3-6 and 8 pluses. And so you hold, or win in that case. Yeah, so he does go 5-1-7-5 and 2. Nice holds by Turdz this game after a nice hold by Seto the prior game. And now he plays 6-4-3-6 in 7, and he holds. And so if they play any more today, we will not catch it, but I'm glad we caught a bit. And off I go.